Hello, welcome to Weekend File on CrossRiverWatch Radio and Television. My name is Victoria Efio. Weekend File is a special news program that tells you all that has been happening in Cross River State and the Niger Delta region in the past 7 days and beyond. And this is episode 4, and we are still growing. Today on the program, I have a special guest, Analyst, as usual, and he is the editor and publisher of the Daily News. His name is Ukorebi Essien. But just before I introduce our guest, let's look at some trending stories. The Book of Cross River, chapter 2, verse 1 to 10 by Agba Jalingo, that's an article. This has caused us monumental embarrassment. Army on officer dehumanizing corps member. Female army officer assaults corps member in Calabar. Also in Cross River State, Car Free Day. Lawmakers, stakeholders promote cycling and walking for better health. Still in Cross River State, Venus emergence indication victory looms for PDP by Sir Arthur Jarvis. Let's sign the divorce papers by First Baba Isa, that's an article. Navy arrests 3 suspects, intercept 1,209 bags of smuggled rice in Calabar. Just my thoughts on Aero Kali's inability to land flight N2123 by Efa Oka. We're going to take a quick break at this point. When I come back, we will bring our guests to analyze most of these trending stories. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of Weekend File on CrossRiverWatch Radio and Television. Don't forget, you can get news at your fingertips. All you have to do is to subscribe to all our social media platforms. Seated with me already in the studio is our guest analyst for today. As I mentioned earlier, he is the publisher and editor of the Daily News, and he's also the state coordinator of P4P Niger Delta. Welcome to the program. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Vicky, for having me.
So the past 7 days has been quite interesting. Let's look at the trending stories. We have a story here. Female army officer assaults corps member in Calabar. It seems the Nigerian army and other paramilitary are being known for human rights abuses. What's your take on this?
Well, you're not far from the truth. When it comes to uniformed men and women in this country, they don't obey the human rights laws we have in this country, not just in this country, but world over. And for concerning that story, when I first read or watched the video, it was very, very dehumaning. It's not something that we should be promoting in our culture because it is barbaric. First, whatever crime the couple must have committed, it doesn't warrant such level of let's say, for her to pay such level of penalty. First, it was against the ethics of even the army herself, the uniform she wore. She's also a uniform personnel. The corps member was also a uniform.
Yeah, an officer equivalent.
Exactly. So taxpayers' monies are being used to procure the uniform the lady wore and also the corps member wore also. So whatever offense she had committed, there are other forms of penalty, there are other forms of punishment that would have been meted on that corps member, not the to the extent of abusing the uniform of corps members in this country. So it's something we should all frown out. And I'm happy that when that story went out, I think the Nigerian army had to quickly weigh in, put up a press statement and ensuring that the wrong was right and all that. So.
Okay, well, let's see how that issue plays out. We will keep you updated as events unfold.
Another headline I would have loved to react to is the just concluded People's Democratic Congress in the States, where Venancio Sikiri emerged the state's chairman. For me, I think it has been a long battle. It has been something that he has fought for a very long time. And if you look at all the contestants who contested against him, he was one of the most qualified, or let's say the most consistent. He had been one of the founding members or the early beginning members of the People's Democratic Party in the state, where he even became at some point the national publicity secretary of the party. So with all these experiences he has gathered, I think he will be able to take the party to where it deserved. They needed victory, just like he said, that come to 23, he sees the People's Democratic Party gaining back their seats in government house. So it's a good one for the PDP. And there have been these talks between or in the public space, how there is so much confusion in the APC's Congress, and that of the PDP that just finished was just a smooth sail without rancor and all that. But I think what caused that, why there's a smooth sail, a seemingly smooth sail in the PDP's Congress, is because of their level of internal democracy. They seems to have mature people who believe in a system of leadership. If the leader says this is where we are going, they all go without questioning. So, and for me, it may not be a good thing, because at the end there's this grumbling which may burst out one day.
Okay, so congratulations to Barrister Vina Ike. We wish him all the very best. Moving away from stories emanating from CrossRiverWatch, let's go over to the Daily newspaper and look at the trending headlines. Protest rocks APC chapter Congress in Cross River as group insists on Efanga Lasisi as chapter chair of Calabar South. Lethal violence on the rise across Niger Delta, says P4P, calls on stakeholders in Cross River to act fast. Aruku guns for APC state chairman, says he will build bridges in support of Ayade's administration. 13 predictions about Governor Ayade in 2019, see how many have come to pass. Still from the Daily newspaper, second in command to notorious kidnapper Romance arrested in Calabar. How Cross River State Commissioner is fueling communal crisis in Calabar. Sir Ofajabis salutes PDP over successful Congress, Lord Bina's emergence as the state chairman of party. And lastly, World Peace Day 2021, P4P calls for speedy implementation of Ndumaigba's led Peace Committee report. It's been a busy week at the Daily News.
Well, I'll just react to three of those stories simultaneously, looking at the increase in lethal violence in the Niger Delta region, and they just celebrated World Peace Day, which was held on the 21st of this month, and also the fueling of crisis by
the commissioner.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So while I'll be dwelling on that is because of my office as the state coordinator of Partners for Peace here in Cross River State. All right, you see, there have been several crises that have come up in the Niger Delta region, especially here in Cross River State. If you look at Cross River State, there's hardly any local government that is not managing or undergoing one form of level of crisis or the other. So it was very disheartening to hear that a commissioner in Cross River State in this Ayade's government is fueling another form of crisis, which had to do with the land dispute between two communities in Calabar.
When you say commissioner, can you be more specific?
Yes, I can't really put a name to that office, but he was one of those commissioners from Calabar municipality. Two communities were into loggerhead about a piece of land, and he's supporting one of those communities and went from stories that were told, he mobilized a bulldozer and bulldozed a particular building that was sited in that piece of land. And all that. So such action will escalate violence and crisis. So as members of Partners for Peace, we are trying as much as we can to see how to reduce the level of violence and crisis we are experiencing. Currently, there's an increase in lethal violence in the region. And we are also working tirelessly to ensure that, especially during our last World Peace Day, which we celebrated on Tuesday, we celebrated it across the state in some local government, trying to talk to those in secondary school, those on the street, and community stakeholders to see how they can come together collectively and ensure there's peace in Cross River State. So it was disheartening when we saw that news that while an NGO is trying to ensure that peace is restored in Cross River State, Calabar used to be one of the peaceful state
come and live
in Nigeria.
rest.
So, but as it stands now, we are gradually losing that our position. So, as Partners for Peace, we are trying to see how we can regain our position as the most peaceful state in Nigeria, and so it was disheartening indeed to.
Okay, so kudos to P4P and thank you for all you do to ensure that we have peace in our region. Well, another interesting headline from the Daily News is 13 predictions about Governor Yade in 2019. See how many have come to pass. We're curious to know how many have come to pass.
Those predictions were written in 2019, and coincidentally, they were written by me just immediately after the governorship election. So I predicted that the governor may decamp to the APC, and that has come to pass. I also predicted that he will return almost all his commissioners and appointees. That also came to pass. I also predicted that, as at that time there was this issue of the spirit of enterprise that came up with the new logo and all the stuff.
Yes, remember all of that.
So, and just before that election, I think there was a clampdown on that. So they downplayed on that logo. The logo was not used again. And so I predicted that despite the clampdown on the logo, that the spirit of enterprise may come up again, but in a different form. May not really be the use of logo and all that. And till date, we still see it. I think recently they had a conference tagged the spirit of enterprise. More of those predictions out of the 13, I think about 8 or thereabouts have come to pass, and we expect more. For instance, that one of the predictions was that before the end of 2020, of the governor's first term in office, or second term rather in office, that he's going to make a political mistake that may cause him the opportunity of installing his successor, and also that that mistake may also cause him his senatorial ambition, which has been rumored that he's intending to go back to the Senate after 2023. So I believe more will come to pass.
When I knew you were just an editor. I didn't know you were a prophet as well.
I'm an oracle.
You're an oracle. I see how you got the name. We're going to take a quick break at this point. When we come back, we will wrap up the show. Stay with us. Welcome back to the final moment of Weekend File episode 4 on CrossRiverWatch Radio and Television. It's been an exciting time over here with Ukorebi Essien, the publisher of the Daily News. But just before I let him go, I have a very special question for you. Now, majority of your work is done online. You run an online media outfit.
Yeah.
How do you, leverage your technology to deliver, especially when it comes to breaking news?
Okay, when it comes to the publishing industry or the news industry, I think new media or social media has become a disruptive tool that have been used to disrupt the way news is being disseminated in time past using the modern technology. So for me, I make very good use of phones. I make very good use of little gadgets like that, and also social media platforms and some apps that are on those platforms. So they are very good, and they help in disseminating this information faster, just at the click of your fingertips. The stories out there.
So as a practicing journalist, what are those challenges you face when you go to the field?
Well, there are a lot, numerous challenges, especially if you are practicing here in Nigeria. And even in Cross River State, there was a time where it's as if journalists were being gagged. We were not allowed to express ourselves and all that. So apart from the security challenges from government and other parastatals, you also see that there are a lot of financial challenges too. There are some things you really want to do. There are some way you want to express yourself, want to express your story using most of these technologies, but they come with some financial responsibilities. So there are a lot of challenges. Most times you want to go into the hinterland to ensure that you get the story firsthand. So you have to go there, you have to pay reporters, get those stories and all that. So it's actually challenging, but with the help of little technology, we are overcoming those challenges by the day.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on episode 4. It was a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's a nice experience sitting here with you.
Well, this is how we wrap things up on this week's episode of Weekend File on CrossRiverWatch Radio and Television. Don't forget you can catch up with previous episodes. All you have to do is check for it on our social media platform. And you can join the conversation as well. Leave a comment. We will read out your comments the next time we come online. My name is Victoria Effiong. Have yourself a pleasant weekend.